Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm Corey Rose.
Yes, and I'm Jordan Chavez, TGIF, my friends. Let's get a check of that forecast now with senior meteorologist Chris Bianchi out in the backyard. Doesn't even feel too bad this early in the morning, Chris.
Do you remember a week ago at this time? It was hammering snow here in the 90s backyard. Literally to the minute 1 week ago, it was snowing. We woke up to about 8 inches of snow here in the 90s backyard last Friday. This morning, we're waking up to 40-degree temperatures. Not a single bit of snow anywhere here in the 9 News backyard, but that'll maybe change for next week. In the meantime, 41 out at the airport officially for us. Winds mostly on the light side at the moment, and temperatures mostly in the teens and 20s in the high country. 30s and 40s we get going on this Friday, February the 28th. By the way, last day of meteorological winter. Remember the way that us meteorologists, the way we keep track of seasons by full month because of equal climate record keeping. Today, 67 sunsplash degrees for us. We're mostly in the 60s on the eastern plains. Next few hours, we'll get up into the low 60s for us, and by early this afternoon in the mid 60s. But next week, we got some big changes just around the corner. I'll detail those for you coming up in my full forecast in just a couple of minutes. You know what? I'll be honest about it. I'm not too mad that we're not waking up to snow on this Friday.
It is a perfect Friday morning. Chris, thank you so much. I-25 right now and 58th Avenue. You're taking a look. Happy Friday, everyone. From our CDOT cameras, for those heading out the door, very quiet traffic, still very, very light all across the Denver metro area. So I do want to give you a live look from our maps right now. You can see overall a lot of green on your screen for those heading out the door. So our major interstates, I-70, I-225, I-25, zooming into that area, the North Glen Federal Heights area. From a southbound I-25 down to 76, you're looking at an 8-minute drive. And for those taking I-270 from I-70 heading into I-25, still pretty quiet as well. It's going to be a 4-minute drive.
All right, thank you, Brianna. Well, in just over 3 hours, a funeral home owner in Denver accused of leaving a woman's body in a hearse for more than a year is set to be arraigned. Miles Harford used to run Apollo Funeral and Cremation Services in Jefferson County. He is accused of keeping Christina Rosales' body in that hearse for more than a year. Investigators discovered her remains and dozens of other cremated remains during an eviction back in February. He is also facing 3 charges for mishandling remains and 4 theft charges. Harford is due in court at 8:30 this morning.
This morning, a man is suing 2 years after he says a hotel employee in Thornton called him a racial slur and forced him to leave the business. That man's lawyers provided police body camera video showing the front desk clerk admitting the racist language.
Yeah, I called him a but I use it as a definition.
You did what?
This happened around 3 in the morning on February 25th of 2023. The lawsuit says Freddie Davis was charging his Tesla across the street from the Baymont by Wyndham Hotel when he walked into the lobby with his headphones in, hoping to use the bathroom. It says when he saw the bathroom was closed, he turned around to leave. According to the lawsuit, that's when he heard the hotel employee yelling at him, calling him the N-word and telling him to leave. It says she then called police, who cited her for disorderly conduct. The lawsuit says Davis tried to file a complaint by calling the corporate office. The lawsuit says he returned to the hotel 9 days later to file a paper complaint, and that manager denied him, told him to leave, and called police. We reached out to Wyndham Hotels for comment. We have not heard back.
This morning, the person accused of vandalizing a Tesla dealership in Loveland is facing new charges. Lucy Nelson is now facing a federal charge of malicious destruction of property. 9 News Investigates also obtained court documents that show police believe that Nelson targeted the dealership 3 separate times over the last few weeks with spray paint and fire. Police say that they arrested Nelson Monday night with a gasoline container, materials to make wicks, and bottles of Smirnoff Ice. Nelson will remain in jail over the weekend at least until a bond hearing on Tuesday.
This morning, district attorneys are making a push to change a law that caps the number of kids that can be locked up while awaiting trial for serious crimes. Right now, the current cap is 215, but the bipartisan legislation would raise that to 254, with room to go up or down in future years based on projected use. 17th Judicial District Attorney Brian Mason says there are kids accused of committing violent crimes who were not in custody because of the limit.
According to the Colorado Department of Human Services, there are 31 juveniles who have been charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, or manslaughter who are out of custody, who are out in the community. That should scare everybody.
The ACLU of Colorado believes money for more beds could be better spent on keeping kids out of trouble in the first place.
We don't believe detaining more kids is the right answer. We don't think it fixes the actual problem. It puts a Band-Aid on it for a period of time.
The bill is set to be discussed at the committee level next Thursday.
The Department of Transportation wants to supercharge the hiring of air traffic controllers to solve an ongoing shortage. To attract new people to the profession, the FAA is increasing starting salaries by 30% for candidates who start at its academy in Oklahoma. The agency will also trim its 8-step hiring process down to 5. The new hiring window is already up and ends March 17th.
The Pentagon ordered all military service branches to remove any mentions of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or known as DEI, from their websites. That's according to a memo that was sent out yesterday. The deletion also includes archives of official photos, videos, and articles released by the military around the world. The memo says it needs to be done by March 5th. If it doesn't get it done by then, branches are ordered to temporarily remove all content published during the Biden administration.
Well, this morning, meteorologists around the country are warning of the impact of layoffs at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Several sources told the Associated Press that hundreds of weather forecasters and other employees were fired on Thursday as part of President Trump and Elon Musk's effort to shrink the size of the federal government. We reached out to the office in Boulder to learn about the impact there. They wouldn't talk about it, but Craig McLean, a former NOAA chief scientist, says when it's all over, about 10% of NOAA's workforce will be gone. He says he got the information from someone with firsthand knowledge. Now, one of the biggest names in weather, Al Roker, wrote, going into the severe weather and hurricane season, this cannot be good. We have our own meteorologist with us right now, Chris Bianchi. You just heard what Al Roker has to say about this. What's the conversations you're hearing?
I would go a little harsher than that, frankly. This is the Weather Service, losing the Weather Service. There's so many factors and things that they do that we don't see on a daily basis. So, for example, the data that's fed into computer forecast models, we really rely on those models. That's done by Weather Service employees. So they launch daily weather balloons that go up. They're starting to cut some of those balloons as we speak. So that's less data. That means, for example, you think about a weather balloon in Alaska, you go, who cares about a weather balloon in Kotzebue, Alaska? But that data is often being fed into those computer models, and that's where our storms come from. And so less data equals less forecast accuracy, which means less accurate forecasts and less people to perform that as well.
It's so interesting because on paper it could look good, but when you really look at what these people do and why it's so important, it can be life-saving stuff, especially for NOAA. The conversation's a little bit different.
Absolutely. And by the way, I also want to clear up, I know many meteorologists with different political leanings. This is not a political thing. This is every meteorologist. I don't know a single meteorologist out there who doesn't think that this is detrimental to our enterprise.
This is a safety aspect for y'all.
Safety aspect. And again, this spans the entire meteorological spectrum in terms of politics. It doesn't matter in that end.